WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about here sometimes will get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay.
Oh so yes, y'all. Really love our theme music. So welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, as always, folks, we always have a lot of different topics to talk about here on the Grown Men Podcast. And we went to We Rise Nation, and we wanted to know what the people who listen to our podcast would like to hear us talk about. And there were a lot of interesting topics that were brought up that we are going to get into on the Grown Men Podcast at the We Rise Network. And we've been discussing these issues. But the thing I wanted to talk about and address is one that came up amongst everybody. It's going on in the news right now. Everybody is talking about this main topic, and that is affordability. And what does affordability mean to us? So there are several different components, right, to affordability, things that you can shop for, things that you would like to buy, things that you want your family to have. But you have to know if you can afford these items or not. These are a lot of different things that are going on with families across the world, not just here in the United States and not just in the city of Chicago, but everywhere. But what I want to say is, what does it mean to an average person like you or myself? Because we're still working class people. We're not celebrities. We're not politicians. We're not any of these things, right? We're just people that go to work every day and do our job to the best of the ability and just want some of the finer things in life. We're not asking to drink champagne every day. We just want to be able to put food on our table and clothes on our backs for our children and ourselves as well. So I'm going to give you some stuff that I've seen online when they refer to affordability. And this is what they think. And then I'm going to give you what real people in real life think. So bear with me as I go through this. So they term affordability as referring to the degree to which a product, service, or expense is reasonably within the individual's or group's financial means. Definition and context. Affordability is a measure of whether someone can purchase or sustain a particular good or service without causing financial strain. It is commonly assessed in multiple contexts. Personal finance. How much an individual or household can spend on items like food, transportation, or healthcare without exceeding their income or budget. Housing. The affordability of rent or mortgage payments is often evaluated, as a percentage of household income, with a common benchmark being the housing costs should not exceed 30% of income. Healthcare and education. Affordability in these areas consider both direct costs like tuition or medical fees and indirect costs like transportation, or opportunity costs. Products and services. Affordability may refer to whether goods such as electronics or vehicles are competitively priced for a target demographic, balancing costs, quality, and accessibility. Factors influencing affordability. There are several key factors that affect affordability, either for individuals or society as a whole. Number one, income and earnings. Higher income increases purchasing power, making more products, services affordable. Cost of living. Cities with higher living costs, like Chicago, right here in my hometown, can reduce affordability despite stable income levels. And that is true because we recently had the big property tax hike. And when we got our bill, oh yes, it's there. Price levels and inflation. Increases in prices driven by inflation or supply constraints can reduce affordability over time. Debt and financial obligations. High existing debts limit the amount of income available for other expenses, reducing affordability. Government policies and subsidies, tax credits, welfare programs, or interest rate adjustments can enhance affordability for essential goods and services. Measuring affordability. Economists and policymakers often use indices and ratios to measure affordability. Income to cost ratio comparing income to housing or healthcare costs. Consumer Price Index, or better known as CPI. Adjustments that assess how changes in prices impact the purchasing power of households. Affordability indexes for specific markets like housing, affordability indices, which combine median income, median prices, and mortgage rates. Practical implications. Understanding affordability helps individuals make informed financial decisions. Employers set competitive wages, and governments design policies that ensure essential services like housing and healthcare remain accessible. Striving for affordability often involves budgeting, prioritization, and seeking efficient solutions tailored to income levels. In summary, affordability is a relative concept that balances costs against financial capacity, influenced by income, expenses, prices, and policies, and is key for planning both personal finances and public policy. So right there, that's a whole lot to take in, right? But these are some of the things that they put out here as what affordability means. Now, I'm going to break it down to what affordability means to a person like you or me. And I can tell you this, when we go to these grocery stores, right, and we look at some of the items that we may want to purchase, but when we see the pricing has doubled in some times, we look at that item and say, do we really want that item or do we need that item? And see, people who are not in these situations, right? These policymakers, the bureaucrats up in Washington, D.C. that sit up on that hill, they don't have to worry about these things, right? So it's not a concern for them. So when they make laws and policies that don't concern us, often we're left out in the cold. And I talk to people all the time. This is every day. I'm having conversations with different individuals who once again say that it does not matter. It does matter because you have to hold these people accountable for what they are doing. But at the same time, What affects us right then and there is walking into that store and having to pay double for an item we may want to buy. And now the way the federal government is being run, of course, they want to take that away from you. They're trying to get this initiative, where we're saying, make America healthy again. And I understand about us being healthy, but at the same time, they're not the ones walking into that store. These policymakers, these politicians are not the ones walking into that store trying to buy these products. If you have 3 children, right? And everybody wants them to eat healthy, and we all should be eating healthy. But when the healthier foods cost more than the junk food, that's a problem. Because see, when I go into stores and I see apples and oranges and they cost more than what, is considered junk food like potato chips and other items, that makes me wonder. Are the stores in on trying to make America healthy? Because it doesn't seem that way to me. It seems that they're trying to push the junk food rather than the healthier food. So while the government is trying to tell regular citizens like you or I to tighten our belts, and they're building gold domes and everything under the sun, that makes me upset. That makes me mad. That makes me want to get involved. And that's what I was telling the people that I was talking with this week. This is what I'm trying to convey to them. Like, yeah, you may not do politics, but at the end of the day, these politicians continue to do you at every turn because they don't know your struggle. They don't know that when you go to these grocery stores or when you go to these clothing stores and you're trying to feed your children and yourself, that the amount of money that you're making at your job is not covering affordability, meaning prices go up, inflation happens, but yet your wages stay the same. So how will you be able to afford food for you and your children? How will you be able to put clothes on their back? These are the things that mean something to us. And when I say us, I said before, the hardworking blue collar people who go to work every day and do the jobs that other people can't do. Not that they don't have the skill. It's that they don't have the desire to put in real work. As I've said many times, not only here on the Grown Men Podcast, but in my music as well. I use my brains and my back. I will never ask anyone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. I'm a do-for-self individual, and most people are. They like to do for themselves. They don't want to be dependent upon no one, let alone the federal government. However, we also don't want the federal government to tell us to tighten our belts when they're not doing their jobs. Because they work for us, as I said before. And affordability is an issue right now. It is the number one concern of every American citizen in the United States right now. That's the number one thing. Right there, and then immigration is next. But being able to afford to live a decent life is all that people ask for. People don't want a whole lot. Everybody try to think that people want things for free. And that's simply not true. Most of the people that are out here grinding are working hard every day for their families and themselves. And I include myself in that bunch because every day I get up and I go to work, regardless of how I'm feeling. And yet the prices of things keep going up higher and higher. That's why when I go to these grocery stores, I buy the things that I need and then I get out of there. But for people who have children, unfortunately, they can't do the same thing because they have to shop for 3 other people. They have to figure out a way to feed 3 other individuals. And you tell them, oh, buy healthy fruits and vegetables. When fruits and vegetables are so high that no one can afford it these days on a regular working salary. Not to mention the fact that housing is also on the rise, as people are paying more money to rent apartments than ever. When I was talking to somebody the other day and they told me how much they paid in rent, I'm like, how do you manage that? And they basically gave me the answer like, I manage the best way I can. And it's an unfortunate situation when you work a job every day and you're doing everything that you can do, and yet still it's not working out for you. Sometimes you just lose the faith. And we have these food banks in a lot of different places where people can go, but everyone can't go there. And everyone may not qualify for that. What about the people who fall in between the cracks? These are things that people that sit in Washington, D.C. up on that hill are not concerned with because it doesn't affect them. Yes, there are some politicians who want to help. They really do. But they get overshadowed by the ones who don't. Because, see, those people want to make it easier for the so-called job creators, which are the billionaires. None of those people have any idea of what food costs because it will never affect them because they have enough money. They don't have to worry about these things. And yet they wonder how it's gone so wrong for people like myself and others where we're just, they're just lazy or they don't want to work or we don't understand why they don't have no drive to be successful. Everyone can't be sitting on the top of the hill looking down at everyone else. So a lot of us down at the bottom of that hill, we're just striving to get by. And why is this? The bigger picture is, why does it have to be? Because, see, sometimes you got grocery stores and you got government markets that work together. And they say, we're going to jack those prices up and we're going to see how high or how low people have to get in order to get these products. And that's when the real pimping starts to kick in, right? Because at that point, a person is willing to do anything to feed their family. So if that means stepping on someone else who happens to be in the same predicament that they're in, it's like better you than me, right? And they pit people in the communities against each other for that reason. And some of these sick people that are at the top, they love it. It's like throwing out scraps to a couple of starving dogs, right? And they like to watch those dogs fight or those wolves fight or whatever animal it may be fight until one gets it and the other one starves to death. This is what's happening not only in the United States of America, but it's happening across the globe. People are looking for food. They're looking for housing. They're looking for some semblance, of a normal life. And yet this affordability crisis is one that right now is putting everybody in a financial bind. And then when you add, if you have a medical condition and your health care is about to expire as we head into another year, it's one of these situations that we continue to look at on a daily basis. People are checking and wondering, are these prices ever going to come down? And you got the health secretary once again with this, he's touting this Make America Healthy Again. And he doesn't want to give children vaccines or anything like that when there are children who are getting sick right now because they're not vaccinated. And there are going to be many more. And what happens if those kids get really sick and their parents can't afford health care. Oh, I guess you'll go home to die then, because we're not giving you anything. And yet, the people who run the government right now, they're building gold ballrooms and anything else under the sun that they're spending money on. They're giving our money away. And yet, they can't get the prices of food down in this country. It's ridiculous, it's asinine, and it's embarrassing that a country of great wealth like this one has to have people who are barely making it, living below the poverty line, and have no way of getting out of the hole that they are currently in, and waiting for their federal government to work for them. Because that's what it's about in the first place. We don't work for you. You work for us. And that's why I tell people all the time. That's why these things matter. That's why these elections matter. You have to vote for someone. Because if you don't, you're voting for someone who doesn't care whether you live or die, whether your family starves to death. They're going to go on their vacations. They're going to get on their yachts. They're going to go home to their mansions or their big 12-bedroom homes. And they're going to do everything that they want to do with their lives while you struggle. And for some, they love to have you in that position. That's why some of these states are run the way that they are, where people are still making $8 and $9 an hour. And they say, oh, because things don't cost that much here. That's bull. Things are up everywhere. And if you want to go buy a vehicle, have you seen the prices of new cars these days? I have. Which makes me say I'm not going that route. I'll hold on to my old Jeep until it falls apart before I go and spend that kind of money on a vehicle. It's not going to happen. No way, no how. And for someone, as I said before, that has children, how do you think they're going to be able to afford to do these things? You know, these are the things that make me think to myself, what is really going on? Because for the simple fact, people are doing the best they can. And in most of the time, they get a raise and, you know, they're starting to feel good about themselves. And just when they start to feel good about themselves, they get kicked in the guts because the price of something goes up. And then we talk about all the other aspects of that. If you have your own home and you're paying for heating, that goes up. Your electric bill goes up. If you have a water bill, that goes up. Especially right here in the city of Chicago, as I've said earlier, with the property tax. So not only is the property tax doubling, they want to put that on the budget, well, the water bill will go up too. And they've been fighting tooth and nail about that. A lot of the alders saying, look, our people, our constituents can't afford it. And for the simple fact, ours went up maybe $2,000 just about when I was looking at it. And it's one of those situations that it's going to continue to happen because downtown area and all these spaces that are not being taken up, these commercial spaces, they got to get that revenue from somewhere. And this is how they choose to get it. And once again, that's back on the back of the taxpayers, that burden. Once again, it comes back to us and we have to eat it again. So then we have to make adjustments. At least that's what I do. I make the adjustment to say, hey, you know what? With the way things are going right now, we're going to have to cut back. It's that simple. And I have no problem cutting back. As I said before, I don't have children like that. My daughter's grown up, so I don't have to, have that situation where it's like, okay, we got to decide what we're going to do. I'm just deciding for myself. And at the end of the day, I know I can get by because I'm good at managing my money when I have to. There are not many things that I require. Food is a requirement, yes. But some of these other things, no. Those are wants. They're not needs. And my mother always told me, son, always know the difference between a want and a need. And it's one of these situations where we're being asked to do that on the food level, healthcare, as well as housing. While the people who are at the top aren't asked to do any of these things. And they're trying to say that they're trying to kick illegal aliens and all this other stuff under the sun, which we know is a load of crap. It's not true. It never was and it never will be. This whole scheme was set up to give billionaires their tax breaks that they wanted. And once again, they hide that under the guise of being job creators. When we know for the simple fact, if there were no jobs to do in the first place, they wouldn't be billionaires. So let's be real about it. Without the workers, you're nothing. And yet the workers are the ones who are suffering every day. We're the ones out there in that field, pulling that plow, basically, to use that term from the old days. This is what we are doing to build your company, feather your cap, and make you a billionaire. And in turn, you give us a salary, you give us a pay that is below the scale. And then when prices of things go up, you say, tighten your belt. Well, how tight do you want our belt to be? If it gets any tighter, we won't even have inner intestines. We've been tightening our belt for years and years, waiting on the day where things become affordable enough for us to be able to purchase them. And it's still not getting there. I was speaking with someone the other day about the prices of things, right? And I said, when I was a kid, like maybe 6, 7, and 8 years old, the cost of bread was about 79 cents. You know how much bread costs today? $2 and almost 50 cents. So prices are never going to go down. I understand that, right? Don't know why it is. Everybody has opinions, but no one can ever give you a solid fact of why that is. But we can live with that as long as our wages are increasing to meet that demand. However, our wages are not meeting that demand. So when that happens, there's an offset. And then if people say, I can't afford to do this, then they simply won't buy it. These are the essential things that people need to take into consideration when they talk about affordability. It's not about people tightening their belts. It's not about people going off their budgets. It's about people who generally are out here doing the best they can and just need a break here and there. And we'll be all fine. But they don't even want to give us that. And the federal government wants everybody to stand on their own 2 feet. Well, some people don't have 2 feet to stand on, and they need help. Now, I'm not one of them. I'm lucky and blessed that I'm able to do for self. But there are many people who are trying. But there are also people who are disabled, and they need help as well. Should they be turned out in the cold just to give a tax break to people who don't need it and don't deserve it? No. And you get the billionaires who flack back, right, and say, oh, well, it's their fault. I mean, why are they mad at us? When did becoming rich become a crime? I don't care how rich someone gets. I've said this before. If that's what you need to be happy, if you need billions of dollars to be happy, knock yourselves out. Just don't step on our backs, especially someone like me, because I'm going to fire back. I'm going to talk down on you. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind, and let you know how I think and how I feel about you at every turn. Because if you're not helping people, why in the hell did you become a billionaire in the first place? Because that's what I would do if I ever became a billionaire. My main focus would be helping other people. What else would I do with $1 billion? There are only so many things you can do on this planet. And most of the things that billionaires do and celebrities and any of these people of that ilk, I have zero interest in doing. Don't want it, don't need it. My main focus is to help people when I can and do whatever I can to help someone who's in a situation that needs help. That's what you should be doing, but you're not. You're out here saying everybody's mad at us because we made it and they didn't. It's not about all that. It's about trying to step on the backs of people to work your way to the top. Because let's face it, that's what most of these billionaires did, right? Whether they stole an ideal from someone else or they cheated someone else out of getting what they were supposed to get. That's what I've looked at from most of the billionaires when I did research on them. Oh, yeah. So most of these so-called billionaires, they try to claim that they're self-made men. But you're no different than anyone else who is out on the street or anybody that steps on someone to get to the top. And they always try to look down on people from their ivory towers. Well, the simple fact is, there are people down here on our level who are actually putting the work in. And they're doing the things that they can to help people regardless of the fact if they don't have it. And yet the federal government right now wants to cut out all services for people in need of food and housing. Oh, they got to show proof of this or they got to show proof of that. And they keep fueling this garbage about illegal people getting things in this country that they shouldn't be getting. And it's simply not true. That's the biggest lie that has been told by this administration. Hunger should never be politicized. People being homeless should never be politicized. It should be a party of people who agree that, yes, this is an issue and how can we address it and then fix it. And yet you get people all the time talking about all these bureaucrats all the time that's been in Washington for years and years. Like that's something that hasn't been going on and that continues to go on. No matter who's the president of the United States, we still have bureaucrats who slow down the process of getting people the help when they need it. These are the things that make a lot of people angry and upset with politics. At least when I talk to them, that's what they speak on. And when they talk about it, I can't give them an answer because I'm in 100% agreement with them. However, I always tell them that you still have to let your voice be known. And that voice can be through a vote or it could be verbally, like myself. If I back a politician and you ran on something that I believe in, and then you don't deliver or show the proper effort that you tried to get this thing done, then the next time when your election comes up, I'm going to talk down on you. I'm going to let the people know that you didn't do what you said you were going to do, which was lower the costs, lower our health care, lower our housing. These are the things, that we need. These are the things that we're out here striving and grinding for every day. We want affordability. We want to be able to afford things for our children as well as ourselves. We want to have holiday celebrations and not worry about, can we afford to do this? These should be things that should be necessary for us to have a good life. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to have. All of us want the same thing. We may have differences in how we do them, but we all want the same thing. When we walk to a store, we want to be able to afford to buy items that we may want and not think about how we're going to afford to pay for it. There are people out here who are paying for food with credit cards. Why should that be necessary? Well, it's necessary because they can't afford to buy it with cash. And affordability is at the top of the list. It's the main reason why. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. The prices of these items are way too high so people can't afford them. And they're looking for ways to be able to afford them, especially when you have the holidays coming up, right? Or birthdays, or any kind of summer vacations, or anything that people want to do. They look at the cost because that tells them whether they will be able to afford to do this or not. It's simple, people. It's not hard to understand. And yet, people are very passive about this issue. There are people right now making big noise about it in Washington because their constituents have pushed for it. If not, they will primary these people out. And that's in both parties. They will primary these people out, as well they should. Because if they're not talking your language, if you're not speaking on the things that are important to the people, instead of hearing what the people want, you're telling the people what they want, then they're going to go against you. So when I talk to people all the time, I say, look, you have a choice. Either you vote or you say nothing. And if you say nothing, you get nothing. That's the way that it goes. So I continue to say that here on the Grown Men Podcast, that if you didn't participate in voting at all, if you didn't participate in what's going on in your community and what's going on in your federal government when it comes to housing and affordability and all those things in between, then you're complicit in it. That means you're okay with it. Which then, I don't want to hear you whining. I don't want to hear you crying. I don't want to hear anything from you. And now I got to turn my back on you. And I've done that several times with people. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what you think? And then I walk it off. Because see, you were given the information and yet still you sat pat and did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. You didn't care, nor did you want to pay attention to what was going on. So for me, it's a simple thing. Some people want to see you down. They get off on it. It's a pleasure trip for them. They enjoy seeing people in the mud. They enjoy to see people struggling. It makes them feel good about themselves. There are a lot of people who feel this way. And for those people, I just simply say, go to hell. Because at the end of the day, that's where you're going. Because you're not doing what you should be doing, which is helping people to survive. And right now, affordability is that main issue. If the cost of items start going down, that will fuel consumer confidence, meaning us as customers, we will be more confident to go into a store and say, look, I can buy this because it's a reasonable price. But I think I spoke about this before on the Grown Men Podcast, one of the episodes in the past, about being able to afford things that you necessarily wouldn't be able to afford before because you get a little bump in your pay. But then when we go into the store and we see that that thing has skyrocketed to twice the price that it was before, Like there were several items in the past month that I wanted to purchase. But when I went into the store and I saw the price, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I said, like 2 months ago, this was this price and now it's this price. Of course, those tariffs didn't help as well because, whether that's a real thing or not, people are going to lean on that as a reason for why things go up. And we know some stores say that and they mean it. But then there's others who are saying that simply because of this is a thing right now to do. Just like when COVID was going on, people made excuses for this and they used COVID all the time and they took money and they stole money, and they didn't have legitimate businesses. We know that went on. But these type of situations that are happening right now all over the country, where affordability is a main key component, not just here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, but all over the country. As I was talking to some people the other day from out of town, and they were saying how the prices of their items have gone up in their state where they're from. And they're one of those states that usually things are pretty low when it comes to pricing as far as food and housing and things of that nature. Of course, healthcare is going to be up everywhere, but some of the smaller details and smaller items were down, but a lot of them were up. So it's one of those situations now where every state in the union is seeing this one way or the other. And some of them choose to ignore it because the person who's in charge of the federal government right now is someone that they like. As I've said previous on these podcasts, there are a lot of us that have Stockholm syndrome to a lot of things. And there are a lot of us who just flat out lie because we don't like the other people. It's that simple. But to me, when someone tells the truth, even when I don't like that person, I have to listen to that truth and say, you know what? He's 100% right or she's 100% correct with that one. I may not like her as a character or who she is or who he is, but on this particular thing, they're 100% spot on. But there are a lot of people who won't see that. And once again, as I said before, you got grifters, you got people who want to take advantage of every opportunity they see, whether it's legitimate or not, whether it's legal or not. Right now, what's going on is there are a lot of selfish people in the federal government. And that is the main problem. And yes, bureaucracy has been a problem in Washington, D.C. and in all the cities, the major cities. Since I've been born, that's all it's been about. Because when you need something right away, you can't wait 2 days, a week, a month, a year. Some services are required right now. And food and housing are at the top of the list. Because those two items right there, having something to eat and having shelter, are two things that people can't do without. Especially when you live in the city that I live in, which is Chicago, and it gets very cold in the wintertime. There's no way that you can survive outside in these temperatures overnight. They will find you frozen in the morning. So this is what the federal government needs to look at. However, they won't. Because for the simple fact, they don't care. They don't see you. We are invisible to them. They want our data, though, so they can see what we're up to if we're doing an illegal activity, something where we're getting some money that they don't think we should have. They certainly have the time and the resources to do that. But they don't have the time and resources to feed hungry people or house hungry people. They have time to build ballrooms. They have time to rename Kennedy Centers and all these things that they're doing right now. But they don't have the power to give people food to eat. This is what tells you what your federal government is doing right now. This is what they're wasting our tax money on right now. And yet there are people who continue to starve. There are people who can't afford to eat. There are people who are going to lose their health care based on the fact that these people who sit in these positions don't give a damn whether you live or die. That's their mentality. That's how less they think of us. They want to starve us out. These people have made this a battle. And it's up to us, right? Because at the end of the day, survival of the fittest. And we all need to man up and get to that position. We have to understand that our buying power means something. They have to understand that how hard we work for what we earn. We need to have food that is affordable, that we can buy. Fruits and vegetables, yes, they will be our preference. But as I said earlier, fruits and vegetables are higher than potato chips. So how can you tell people to eat healthy? How can you make America healthy again if the prices of fruit and vegetables are skyrocketing through the roof? They're higher than potato chips. They're higher than candy. Trust me, I know. I go shopping every week. Most people go shopping every week. You can't pull the wool over our eyes. We know how much these items cost because we're actually shopping for them. We don't have things brought to us. We don't go out to restaurants every day. No, we're grinders. We're hard workers. We at the front line doing the hard work, not the soft work that you people do every day. You go to an office, type some stuff on a computer, and that's about all you do. Then you go on vacation, luxurious vacations where you and your family go. While the rest of us struggle and are barely able to take a trip to Wisconsin Dells. That is what affordability right now is doing to us in this country. And all over the world, people always are suffering with hunger, which I never understood that, ever. And they come up with a lot of different reasons, climate, and all these other different reasons under the sun why there's no food, why there are food shortages. That's bull. There are food shortages because there are lazy people in the world. And what I mean by that, I mean billionaires. There are some lazy people in the world who don't know what a hard day of work is. They've never done it in their lives. So they go and try to tell other people that they should work hard if you want something. Be a self-made man like I was. It's the stick that they give you. And yet they're lying through their teeth. They love to see people suffer. They love to see people in pain. They have a sick fetish of seeing us down. And they love to kick us when we're down. But see, the one thing that they didn't count on is people like myself and others who continue to get up on our feet regardless of the situation that you put us in. We'll still rise. We rise is for life. It's not just a saying. It's the way we're living. We do everything we can, when we can, to make our lives better and our children's lives better. And we will continue to do so, day in, day out, year in, year out. We're going to go to the post. We're going to show up. We're going to do those jobs that you so-called billionaires don't want to do and can't do. But you know what? We do it for our families. We don't do it to say how big our bank account is. Because at the end of the day, none of that matters. None of that matters. Because when you go see your maker and he looks you right in your face, into your soul and your spirit, and he says, what did you do to help my people? And you won't have an answer because you have no soul. You're soulless. And the longer people continue to carry this type of feeling that they're doing something, right? They're helping this world. And yet every day people continue to starve, and they have the ability to get people the necessary food, the housing, and the health care that they need, and they don't do it. That tells me everything I need to know about you. So affordability for us and what it means to us is being able to provide food, clothing, housing for not only ourselves, but our children, and in some cases, our grandchildren. And in a lot of cases, the people that live in our communities and in our neighborhoods. If you see someone struggling and you have the opportunity to help, do so. The problem is that it's not enough for a few of us to do it here and there. We set the examples. But at the end of the day, if the people who have power, not only political power, but financial power as well, if they don't step in and help, then it's hard to move that needle. It's hard to be able to get things done if we don't have the proper help to do so. We need everyone to pull this rope. This is a heavy rope that we're pulling. This is some heavy weight. So we need everyone to be working in one direction. But I don't think we'll ever get there because a lot of us are too selfish and we're stuck in our own ways and we're caught up in our own enigmas where we think that our problems matter more than anything else in the world. And that's where you're wrong. Because see, the main idea and the elements for us to live and survive together is to work together and do whatever we can when we can to help someone else. That is my main focal point. That's what I think about every day. What can I do to help someone else? Because that's what I want to do. At the end of the day, I'll be all right. I've lived my life, right? If I go tomorrow, what did I do to help someone else? What did I do? These are the things that we all should be saying to ourselves. And the people that's sitting on top, they don't understand about it because, once again, they've never been there. If the price of something goes up, why would it matter to them? If you have $1 billion, why would it matter if something goes up to you? However, they do get mad and they do pitch a fit when they feel like they should pay the same amount of taxes that we pay. They feel, why are we being punished because we're wealthy? At the end of the day, we've talked about it, and I've said it before several times. A man's value is not how much money he makes. His value should be how much did he help someone else? Because at the end of the day, when you have $1 billion, you have a lot of money to take care of a lot of people, but you choose not to. That also tells me the stain that is on the United States of America right now, today. Well, folks, it appears my time is up. I'm glad you came in to listen to me talk about affordability because it's an important issue. As I said, people at We Rise Nation were asking for a topic like this. We're giving you how we feel about it right here at the Grown Men Podcast. And we got more topics that we're going to talk about in the future. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Check out the blogs. Check out the music that we're uploading. Some vintage stuff that's going on. Website is continuing to be updated. So there are a lot of different things that are going to pop up, that are going to show up, that may interest you. So head on over to WeRiseNation.com. See what we got going on over there. The We Rise Network always got different stuff going on. Talk to people all the time. They want to know when we're going to start doing some different things. And as I said before, we're talking behind the scenes to try to figure out what some of this stuff would look like. We still new at doing this. We only 1 year in. We're still trying to get things going in the right direction. But head on over there to WeRiseNation.com. Check out our website. See if some things over there may interest you. A lot of stuff going on. Well, folks, I'm heading on out of here. Until next time I talk to you, I'm your host, BAN, and I will talk to you soon.
Grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear.